Hello, welcome to the Love, Listen, Talk, Repeat podcast, where myself, Wendy Capewell, and invited guests on occasions talk about subjects relating to ourselves and our relationships. So let's get on with this week's show. Hi, today I'm going to be talking about trust. And I think learning to trust anybody takes time. You can't just automatically trust someone just because they've come into your life. It doesn't make sense. And I think it's harder as we go on in life because we've gathered a lot more experience, and some of them not pleasant, and we may have been let down by someone in the past. It could have been a parent, a friend, or maybe a previous relationship, someone you've met along the way that has let you down in some way or another, and that has then clouded your judgment that other people can't be trusted. But I'm going to start by saying we have to learn to trust ourselves. And I think when we've had bad experiences, that's when it starts. We don't trust ourselves to make a good judgment. And I'll talk a bit more about that in a minute, because I feel so often people say, I don't trust the other person. I'm scared he's going to cheat. I'm scared they're going to gamble. I'm scared they're going to do whatever it is. But that's not about the other person unless it's been proven they've done those things. Then you've got the evidence to say, actually, you've disproved, you've kind of broken my trust. You've proved that you have done those things in the past, and therefore I'm going to be a bit uncomfortable now about allowing myself to trust you again. So what do we want in other people around trust? Well, we want to feel we can rely on them and that they won't let us down. That they'll be there even when the going gets tough. We want to trust them, that they will care and respect us, and that they won't abuse our boundaries. You want to trust that they're not going to hurt us, emotionally, physically, or sexually. And that anything you share with them will remain confidential and won't be used against us. Now, my experience, unfortunately, as a teenager was that my mother encouraged me to share my innermost secrets with her. She always said, to come and talk to me. You can tell me anything. Tell me all the things that are going on with your boyfriends and your life. And I did. But then what she did was she threw it back in my face at another time. And that is really, really hurtful, especially when you're in your teenage years, because you're feeling quite fragile anyway. So for that to happen to me, it really hurt me deeply, and it left me feeling that I couldn't trust people who should have been there, that I could have trusted, that I should have felt that were going to be there for me and not let me down. Trust really does take time. And so when you meet somebody, whoever it is, you need to take things slowly. Don't share things or rely on someone too soon, because it can damage the relationship as well as deepening your belief that it's unsafe to trust anyone. And once trust is broken, it's hard to trust again, especially if you're a child and that person was in a position of authority, such as your caregiver, a teacher, the police. If you can't trust those people in the world, then your world can feel very unsafe, especially if that started when you were a child. Let alone, yes, as adults, I think we can also feel that way as well. But by the time we're adults, we are more able to understand the world a little better, especially certainly as better than we did as children. When that happens, especially from childhood, if your trust was broken, then you then become very hypervigilant, watching every action, checking every word that's been spoken by other people, because you're looking out for yourself. Because you don't not just trust other people, but you stop trusting yourself because you believe that you made a bad judgment, that your reason and judgment must be flawed. Otherwise, you wouldn't have trusted that other person who hurt you. So you can see how deep it can go. I want to move on to that trusting in relationships, because I've seen so much damage done in a relationship simply because the person who lacks the trust, because they've been let down in the past, they take it into their next relationship. And so their judgment is based on everything that happened to them before, and they're not accepting that the person that they're with now is trustworthy or could be trustworthy. So they're always watching them. They're always looking out, looking for things to go wrong. They're always worried that this person's going to cheat on them. And they will push people away because they can't let them get too close. So that's another side effect of what will happen. So if that happens, if you have got a lack of trust for whatever reason, at an appropriate time, when you feel comfortable with the person you're with, then you really need to tell them, explain to them why you feel that way and what it makes you feel, why you're behaving in that way. It's not about an excuse. Because you can't keep saying, well, I don't trust you, because it's really, I have to work on this. However, this is why I'm behaving this way, and I'm sorry if I'm behaving this way towards you. I would also add into the mix that if we've been cheated on and we feel unloved, because of that we blame ourselves for being cheated on, then it can also leave us for feeling that we're not worthy of being loved. And I think that's certainly something else to really investigate, the reasons why. If that's part of it, then certainly you need to really do some work on that one. So that covers my main points anyway. I'm going to go into detail at some other point because I think there's lots comes out of this. But for now, I think my tips are, if your feelings are coming from a place of being unworthy of being loved, just check that one out. If your lack of trust comes from being cheated in the past, acknowledge that it's not related to your current partner. So, yeah, sit down and talk about it so they have a bit more understanding about your behaviour, and maybe they'll be able to help and support you through that, but it is your responsibility and not theirs. Don't trust too easily. Trust does take time. I think that's an important message, because I think too often we get into new relationships, it all feels so wonderful that we open up our hearts, we become vulnerable, and then something goes wrong and it comes crashing down around our ears, and I think that's when it can be really hurtful. Also, I kind of test out your negative feelings about things. When you feel that somebody can't be trusted, just check it out and look for the positives. It may be that you'll find things that add up to them. Well, I can trust them to do something I ask. I can trust them to take care of me in a situation. That happened on that situation. I can trust them to be honest with me. I think when you start looking for those things rather than always looking at the negatives, that will leave you to believe whether or not that person is trustworthy, or you can allow yourself to trust them, because that's what it's about more than anything. Do I trust myself to allow myself to do that? Or am I always going to look for the negative and therefore I'm going to close myself off from the world? And I think that's just about it for today. So I'm just going to leave you with those thoughts, and until next time, I look forward to chatting to you again. I really hope you enjoyed today's episode, and thank you for listening. If you want to learn more, you can find out more details and information in the show notes. Alternatively, you can go to my website, www.wendykapewell.co.uk. Bye for now.